and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we do have plenty more Barca news on the agenda. And today we're going to be talking a lot more about the latest young talents at Barca, particularly when you're thinking about the wide areas at the club right now. And there have also been, surprise, surprise, plenty more transfer news. We're going to be talking about the very latest on Marcus Rashford and also on Luis Diaz right now. It is all on the way, so get yourselves ready and let's do this. But if we do indeed begin, first of all today, guys, with some news on a retirement in the game, because Ivan Rakatic, at the age of 37, has brought down the curtain on a truly incredible career at the top level there. It spanned nearly 1,000 games, provided so many goals, so many assists, nearly 300 goal contributions, and all from midfield, and a stack of trophies along the way. And I've got to say, when we signed him from Sevilla, I already really enjoyed watching Rakatic in La Liga. Such an incredible, such an underrated player. It was such a bargain when we signed him in the first place there for just 20 million euros. He had an unbelievable first season there under Luis Enrique, scoring, of course, in the Champions League final against Juventus before spending 6 years in total at Barca there. So Rakatic now ending his career, moving on to the next chapter, and of course we all wish him all the very best. Because indeed, guys, yesterday we did discuss the incredibly talented Jan Bardghji, and he's another one of those players coming through Barca Athletic. He was playing on the left-hand side, and he's going to be a real option and somebody to keep an eye on in pre-season. We're very, very excited about him. But here today, we do have news on yet another exciting young talent, again coming from Barca Athletic, with it being widely reported here that Hansi Flick has also told Ibrahim Diarra that he will do pre-season as well with the first team this summer. Apparently, before the player there went away on vacation this summer, Flick told him of the plans to include him there in pre-season. Of course, naturally, he was very, very excited about that news. And who exactly is Ibrahim Diarra? Well, he's an 18-year-old Malian who is very, very comfortable playing as a right winger. He can also play there as an attacking midfielder. And again, in terms of wide players right now coming through at Barca, these are young players who will know they're going to have opportunities. They are going to have chances here to show that I can step up. I can be the player that you're looking for. They know that Barca are desperately searching for wide options right now. And I think what's really, really interesting here is that it's now being reported that Diarra, and I would assume as well Bardghji, they have both been provided with a detailed training plan to basically follow and go through here over the course of the summer, even whilst away on holiday, because what the club want here and what Flick is demanding is that they arrive into that pre-season at the kind of physical level that Flick expects from his first team players. The club here want them to be nice and prepared, nice and ready, and I'm excited as well here to see Diarra. I think there's lots of exciting players, lots of talented players right now coming through at Barca, and you want to see them have a chance. You want to see them get games and get minutes here in pre-season, away on the tour of Asia. That's what it's all about, and you never know who can throw down the gauntlet. You never know here who can impress and really shock us all, and maybe even make their way into our plans for the season. Because indeed, following on from that exact theme, let's move on here to another talented player, because a lot of people are wondering, well, where is Roony Bardghji? This is somebody that we thought we'd signed, several days ago. It got the here we go Fabrizio Romano treatment, and yet here we are. We haven't heard anything official from the club at this stage. And I think right now, to be honest, within the Barca fan base, we're all a little bit on edge, we're all a little bit jumpy and nervy in terms of getting deals done and over the line. But do not fear. There is no problem at all here with the Roony Bardghji deal, because actually he's completed already the first part of his medical examinations there at Barca, and during this week apparently the remainder of those formal steps will be completed and he will indeed become an official Barca player. But I think the big question with Roony Bardghji is, okay, once we do get that over the line, what's going to happen with him? Because we did hear actually quite a few rumours that he could go straight out on loan. We could sign him and immediately send him out on loan to a La Liga club. But I think even then, I was a bit surprised about that. Because like I say, on this deal here, we're paying €2 million for him this summer. We could have got him for free in January. So quite clearly here for me, if we're spending that money to get him in now, let's make the most of that. Let's have a plan here to actually use him and really see what he can do, and especially in pre-season. Because I am glad to hear right now in the media that apparently the plan within the club is they want to see what he can do. They want to give him a chance there. And again, the Tour of Asia, it's going to be massive for so many of these young players here. He is another player who is expected to go on that tour to be part of that first team pre-season, and he will also have his chance to impress Hansi Flick. And I think from there, a lot is going to depend on the level that we see from Rooney. A lot of it is going to depend there on the talent. But not only that, again, it's about the physicality. It's about, is he ready? Is he in the physical condition to make that step up to the first team? And I think then, off the back of that pre-season, depending on what we see from him in those games, then Barca will decide his future. You know, he could stay with the first team. If he impresses, if he really wows us in pre-season, he's got every chance of being a part of the team next season. He could spend some time between the first team and Barca Athletic, but of course remember guys right now, Barca Athletic, they are tumbling down the division, so that's not really the standard of football that's really going to grow and develop you as a player. So if he doesn't really make it as part of the first team this season, maybe then the decision will be made to send him out on loan. But let's see what he's got. I'm excited to see him when he does become a Barca player. He's going to get his chance in pre-season, and do you believe that Rooney Bardghji can step up? But indeed, guys, as much as we are really enjoying, personally, I'm really enjoying talking here and thinking about these talents coming through at Barca, using players that we already possess, coming through the system and trusting from within, basically. I think that's a really exciting proposition for all of us here. But at the same time, the transfer rumours are not going away. Barca this summer are still on the lookout to bolster their squad if they can, if a deal can be done. And let's talk first of all about Luis Diaz, because these rumours, they refuse to go away right now, because we have heard ultimately that Diaz is not asking the club for guarantees. He has gone completely the different way to what Nico did. He's not asking for a clause that lets him leave for free if he can't be registered. He wants to put full faith in the club. He's almost going to Barca and saying, look, I actually want to come. I'm somebody here who will make sacrifices, who will be patient, who will put my faith in you, unlike that other guy. And the belief very much remains that Diaz really, really does want to come. No matter what other rumours you're hearing right now, Barca would be his priority this summer. And Barca, they are going to try again for him. They do remain keen on Diaz. We know that Deco in particular is a big, big fan of this move, even despite the fact that, Liverpool clearly knocked Barca back earlier on in the window. They clearly told us, straight up, Luis Diaz is not for sale, but Barca will return at some stage and they will try again to open negotiations. However, and this is the interesting part right now, they're just putting a little bit of jeopardy, a bit more jeopardy in this deal. When it comes to players that Barca are interested in right now, you can bet Bayern want them too. They have been targeting the exact same players as Barca right the way through the summer. They have been copying Barca's notes in this transfer window, which I've got to say, that's a bold tactic. That's an interesting tactic there, given that our notes, they're not exactly always that good. So Bayern, do your worst on this one, because I think especially since the injury, very unfortunate injury, of course, to Jamal Musiala at the Club World Cup recently, really, really sad to see that there. He's going to be out for at least 4 to 5 months. Nasty blow there for him and for Bayern. And I think really that's only intensified their pursuit of the Barca targets here, whether it's Luis Diaz, whether it's Marcus Rashford. And what we're hearing right now in Germany is that Bayern have agreed terms with Luis Diaz. Now that is interesting in itself there, because we know that really that wouldn't be his priority. If Barca and Bayern both had offers on the table, Diaz would go to Barca every single time. So is this a tactic here almost to rush Barca, to push them into making a move for Diaz, basically to say, look, I have agreed a deal elsewhere. I have been speaking to Bayern. They've got something on the table, much like with Nico Williams they did too, much like they probably would with Rashford if we forced them into it. But I think it's quite interesting here that among the fan bases of both teams, you look at the reaction from Bayern fans here on the news they've agreed terms with Diaz. You look at what Barca fans are saying right now. I don't think either fan base want to spend million upon million upon million on Luis Diaz. It's one of those transfers right now. There's no denying his quality as a player. He is a very, very good and effective winger. But I don't think Bayern or Barca fans want to spend huge money on him this summer. So it's almost a deal right here that neither club are that sure that this move would be the right decision to make. Because then we do indeed move on to the topic of Marcus Rashford right now. Now, we are hearing in the media that there haven't actually been as many contacts between Barca's representatives and Marcus Rashford's there. The contact over the last few days has actually dwindled a little bit. Now, Rashford remains an option for Barca. He is still there, make no mistake about that. But I think in the club's mind right now for Barca, they're not exactly in a big rush to complete the Rashford deal. They know that there's no real push there with regard to time, because if they can do a deal for somebody like Luis Diaz, they would rather do that. They would rather prioritise that kind of deal. And also, of course, given the fact that Rashford, he does only seem to want Barca. He has been very, very clear this summer. He wants to make that move. He's been trying to make it happen. And there's almost a feeling within the club of, well, he'll just wait for us. We've got him right where we want him. Rashford will wait for Barca, and we actually feel as though it may be easier to negotiate a deal with Man United later on in the window. But I just want to discuss here, guys, thinking about Diaz, thinking about Rashford. Here's the thing for me, because I can accept that Luis Diaz is a way, way better option for us than Marcus Rashford is. He is a better player. He's in better form. He's had a better few seasons, in terms there of the work ethic as well. I'd certainly go with Luis Diaz. That doesn't mean to say, though, that Rashford has nothing to offer. I do believe that if we brought him in, there are things that he could add in terms of depth there, in terms of the pace that he has, in terms of the fact that he can score goals, that he can also play as a number 9. You could also get a bit of a tune out of Marcus Rashford. And what I would say about that is, honestly right now, guys, would you rather get, say, Marcus Rashford on a low-cost loan deal, or would you rather pay 60, 70, 80 million euros on Luis Diaz? Because as players, one is better than the other, one is a better fit than the other, but in terms there of what it would take, nobody's denying here that Luis Diaz is a good option, but financially, does it make sense for us here? Would spending that kind of money, which is what it would take, because make no mistake here, Liverpool are not going to give Diaz away. They are a serious club. They conduct business very, very well. They're not going to hand Diaz to Barca. In the past, you look at the deals that we've had to do, especially with Premier League clubs, you have to pay big money, particularly thinking about Liverpool there. What happened with Coutinho? We paid through the roof for that kind of deal. So we would have to pay big, big money for Luis Diaz. And I know in lots of situations like these, a lot of football fans would say, well, it's not my money. Why do I care? Spend what you like. I don't really mind. It's not my problem. But I think at Barca, I think at this point, with all of us here, how emotionally draining this club's financial situation has been over the past few years, I think we almost treat Barca's money like we treat our own right now. I would even go even further. I think I worry more about Barca's financial situation than I do my own. So it kind of feels like ours. It kind of feels like we have to think about, is this the right move? Is this the right time to spend? We don't want to see us spend money unnecessarily. We don't want to see us get into trouble here with players who may not be worth that kind of amount. So guys, what would you do right now? We know that Luis Diaz is there. We know that it might be possible, to talk with him, to talk with Liverpool. I still think personally, it's a deal that's unlikely to happen. And if it doesn't, would you then go for Rashford? Would you accept that, okay, as a low-cost, loan kind of deal, would it work? Is there something that we can get out of that deal? So let me know, guys, in the comments down below right now on Rashford, on Diaz, and as well on the young talents right now that are coming through at the club. I will see you soon, of course, where there will be plenty more videos on the way, and I thank all of you for your absolutely incredible support. But until next time, guys, as always, Vejska, El Barça!